we're going to go over a few examples of how to find the slope from a table. I think just seeing some examples and getting some practice that way is really beneficial. So here's the table that represents my line that I need to find the slope of. Now remember, I told you in the last video that you can plot these points on a graph and find the slope of the line from the graph, but when you do that, you run into the risk of drawing your graph incorrectly or having the points lie outside of the graph. And so my suggestion is to just graph the points and find the slope as a way to check your answer. The best and most accurate way to find the slope from a table is to use the slope formula. So that's what we're going to do. So first step in order to find the slope from a table is to choose 2 points from your line. Now each line in the table represents a point on the line on the graph. So we're just going to choose 2 lines. So let's choose this one to be the first point and this one to be the second point that we choose. Now I could have chosen any point because we should know by now that no matter what 2 points you choose, you'll get the same slope. So now we need to label each of the points x1 and y1 and x2 and y2. So how do you do that? Well, since this is my first point and this is the x-coordinate of my first point, this is x1. And since this is the y-coordinate of my first point, this is y1. Now this line is the second point that I chose, so this is the x-coordinate of the second point, and this is the y-coordinate of the second point. Now that I have them all labeled, it's just a matter of plugging them into the equation. So remember, the variable n represents slope, and then the top of the fraction is y2 minus y1. So 5 minus 8. And then the bottom of the fraction is x2 minus x1. So negative 1 minus negative 2. Now, it might look funny to have this minus and the negative sign right next to each other, but this is correct because notice in my formula I have a minus sign between my 2 x-coordinates. So if negative 1 and negative 2 are my x-coordinates, then I need to put a minus sign in between them. So it looks funny, but this is right. Now let's just do this math. 5 minus 8 is negative 3, and negative 1 minus a negative 2, well, subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding. So just change that into a big plus sign. Negative 1 plus 2 is 1. So negative 3 over 1, that simplifies to be negative 3. So the slope of this line, represented in the table, is negative 3. So this line on my graph, it must go downhill. Let's do one more example. So first step is to choose 2 points. Let's choose the bottom 2. Let's choose this one to be point 1 and this one to be point 2. So this means that this one is x1 and y1. And since this is the second point, this one is x2 and y2. Now plug them into the slope formula. y2 minus y1 is on top, so 10 minus 5. And on the bottom, we have x2 minus x1. So 16 minus 12. Let's do this math. 10 minus 5 is 5. 16 minus 12 is 4. So the slope of this line is 5 over 4. Okay, feel free to move on to your assignment and see how you do.